Hello, today I wanted to jump on and give you a little overview of the creative tools and the brush pack that I've just released. I will walk you through what's included in the packs and give you a quick little look at how I would use some of these tools on some of my own photos. So once you have purchased the pack and installed them, you will see that you have a creative toolbox over here. So I've got the 3 other preset packs here and the creative tools here. So when you expand that, you will find in there, you will have lots of different grain tools that you can add and apply to your image. So you can reduce or remove the grain in an image. Haze and grain adds like a cool dreamy effect and some grain together. So that gives like a really nice nostalgic look to your photos if that's something that you like. And these different haze settings here, these are great if you want to just add a little bit of softening and like that nostalgic glow to your photos. They're also really handy if you find that your photos have a really digital look, which can happen with some mirrorless cameras that are quite different to digital SLRs. So I really like to use these when I'm shooting Sony. I add a little bit of haze, a little bit more sometimes to my images so that it's not so super crisp that it almost looks, yeah, it just has a very digital effect. So that's what I use to soften those. Got your lens correction tools here. And these are a few different AI tools that I have created with the new AI settings that Lightroom have released. So these are amazing. So there's a few different sky tools here. Subject Enhance tool, which is a go-to that I use for all of my images. I love using that one. That will automatically select the subject in your image and gives them a nice little pop and a bit more warmth, and it's just a super handy tool, and it speeds up a lot of my editing process. Now these tools here, they're Sunburst, so when you click on these, they will pop up in the masks section, and they are sunbursts, like directional light beams that come from different areas. So I've built a few different ones of those, and they are really amazing to use in images where you have the sun streaming in and you want to enhance that. I always suggest selecting the brush that enhances the direction of the light that's already coming into the image. So for this image, the sun is setting over here, so I would choose this one because it's coming into the frame in the same way. Whereas if I chose this one, let me find this one for example, which is coming in from this direction, that doesn't really match. But you can use that as like a fill light if you want to brighten that area of your photo, but I usually use them to enhance the direction of light that's already coming into the frame. But they are really fun to play around with, and they work really well indoors as well. The next ones that I've created are my little tilt shift pack. So I love creative lenses. Don't know if anyone's used the Lens Baby before. Lens Baby lineup, I've got the velvet lenses, and I've shot with some of their tilt shift lenses as well before. But I don't always have those on me, so sometimes I use tools when I'm editing to give a similar effect to my photos. So these tilt shift tools here you can use, and they will provide a really cool effect. So there's different ones here. This is a circular one. So it softens and provides a really glowy effect around the edges. So it's like an inverted mask. And there's a few different ones here, diagonal, vertical, depending on the look that you're going for in your image. But when you click on these, it will come up here and you can see which parts of your image are being affected by the mask. So what I will do now is just give you a quick look. If you are not familiar with Lightroom, this here is the tool that you need to click on to find your mask. So everything that you click on over here will be visible here, and you can use this little eye here to turn it on and off if you don't want it to show in your image, and you can easily delete all masks as well and start again. So that's a little overview of the creative tools, and the other tools that I wanted to show you are the brushes. So the brush kit, I use the shortcut on my keyboard. I usually use the shortcut, which is K, and that will open up a new mask brush tool for you. So when you press that, or press this one here and create a new mask, Down in this section here where it says effect, that is where you will find all of the brushes once you've purchased the pack. So these are all the brushes here. So there's a whole lot of different brushes. You've got color brushes, an eye brush, some mood brushes, skin brushes, subject enhance brush, which is the same as the subject enhance tool over here. Sometimes you need to use that if the tool over here doesn't select all of your subjects. And then a tooth whitening brush. So these are all of the different things. They're super handy. I've been using them for a long time, and it's been, awesome to have them ready to release to you guys. So I'm going to show you quickly how I will edit this image and use a few of those tools. So I am going to use, on this image, I think I might use Ocean from my Heirloom preset pack. I might bump up the exposure a tiny little bit. I would straighten that up. Now Ocean has some grain built into it, which I think I'm going to reduce a little bit on this image. If you want to remove the grain altogether, this tool here is the perfect one to click, because some of the presets have got grain built into them. If you don't like that, you can use that to easily remove the grain. So I'm going to cool that down a tiny bit. And for this one, I think I will use, as always, my subject enhance tool. So that brightens beautifully the subject, and you can always come up here and you will see the mask that you've applied here. So I can click the subject enhance mask and I can actually change the settings if I'm finding it too strong, and I'll turn that off. So that is perfect. And on this image, I love when I've got a lot of white space around my subjects. This is when I love to use the tilt shift tools. So on this one, I would use the tilt shift circular, and that gives a beautiful dreamy effect, and makes this look like it's got a very shallow depth of field and the subject is popping out of the frame. So I would use that. And the next one I wanted to try was, because the sun is beaming in this way, I might use, let me just open this up and see which one that was. That's coming from the top. So I might use number 1, which is coming in from this direction. And that is how I would use it. So I've used a whole lot of different creative tools on that. This is the before and that is the after. Now the next one that I might show you is, here is an outdoor photo. So this was one of the last frames of the day. The sun had pretty much completely set. I think, yes, this is definitely blue hour or even a little bit after blue hour. And it was a quite overcast day as well. But the sun was still really bright, so I did underexpose this a little bit. I'll turn on my settings so you can see what I was shooting with. I was on a 50mm 1.4 Sigma. So this was shot at f.2 400 ISO. If anyone is interested, on a Canon R6. So for this one, I will use my Marlowe preset from my Kindred pack. If I apply that, I might use Marlowe Full. So that is one click with Marlowe Full, which already looks really beautiful. So that is the before, that is the after. Marlowe is my current favorite from the Kindred pack at the moment. It's a super versatile preset that I use on lots of different sessions. So I'm going to cool that down a tiny bit. Now for this one, I will come in with, I always start in different places. So I'm going to start with the subjects. So I'm going to come up to my tools. I'm going to use my subject enhance tool. When you're using the AI tools, they do take like a few seconds or longer, depending on how fast your computer is, to apply to the image. But they're so handy. So that has been applied. Now I'm going to lift the shadows, I think, on the grass here. So I'm going to come in and grab a linear gradient. Now the brushes that I've created can actually be used as brushes, obviously, but then also for the linear gradients and the radial gradients, which is really handy. So I'm going to grab the linear gradient, come into the effect area again. I'm going to choose lift shadows and add punch. This is a great tool that I use in lots of photos. So I'm going to bring that up there, the linear gradient, and that is lifting the shadows here. I'm going to cool that down a tiny little bit so the greens come back, and that is that section. Now the last thing that I would do to this photo is the sky. So there's a few different sky tools over here that you can just play around with them and see what you love. If you are someone that loves vibrant skies, Sunset Enhance is for you. So that is it. It doesn't usually apply, like this was a very dramatic sky already, which is why that's quite vivid. I personally would tone it down a little bit. If you love really dramatic skies, that will work perfectly for you. So I would grab the mask, which you can expand here. I've named them so you can easily find them up here. So if you grab the mask tool there, you can come in when that's selected and you can change the settings as well. So if you wanted to brighten that up a little bit and make it a little bit less dramatic than it is, you can easily do that. So we might sit it there. I might bump down the tint a tiny little bit, and there we have it. So that is the before and that is the after. So that didn't take a whole lot of work. That was the preset applied, and yeah, I love that image. It's a pretty cool. I can imagine this on the wall blown up. I wanted to show you one last one, how I use the skin brushes. They're beautiful for newborn shoots and also outdoor shoots. I might show you this one because it's easier to see. So for this image, I might come in here and use, what am I going to put on this one today? I usually just go through and see what I love. I might try Poppy on this one. Poppy is like a bit of a more green-based, nostalgic kind of brown toned preset that I really love. I love this on indoor sessions and outdoor sessions. So I might use this one today. Bump up exposure a little bit. So for this one, I do very minimal skin retouching. I'm not a heavy retoucher at all, which you will probably notice with the brushes. They're not like heavy brushes that you're going to come in and see like crazy bright eyes and completely smoothed, like photoshopped type skin. They just provide like the perfect amount of skin softening and brightening and teeth whitening and things like that, so that you don't actually notice that it's happening in the image, which is the kind of editing that I love, because I don't want someone to look at a photo and think, wow, it looks photoshopped or it looks like it's been really manipulated. So I don't do any heavy editing. So that is the place that I've come from in terms of creating the brushes. So for this one, I would choose K, and that opens up, that's the shortcut again, that opens up my brush tool. So my favorite tools that I use nearly on every portrait that is quite close up, similar to this, and on newborns, is my skin brushes. So these are the ones here. So I would come in, they have beautiful skin. I would probably, it's soften and glow, I would just use the light brush, and I would come in here, make that a little bit bigger, and brush that on. I don't ever go over like the actual eye area because I don't want to lose any detail. I will just go over a little bit of their skin here. If you have skin that has like heavy blemishes or is quite like it's side lit and it's quite rough, like the sun is showing a lot of imperfections or things on the skin, you can go in with the heavy one and you can change the settings. So I would use that brush on here. That looks great. And for her eyes, as I said, I've got an eye tool, so I would come in here with the eye brush, brighten and sharpen. Now I have created this to just give the perfect amount of pop to the eyes without overdoing it. I'm not a fan of photos where the eyes look completely manipulated and like just because I want it to feel, to go with the presets well that I've created, and just to feel like it suits the image and hasn't been edited too heavily. So that is there with the eye pop, and that looks really beautiful. So that is pretty much all I would do to that. So that is the before. So that has Poppy Full applied, and then the skin brush, the light skin brush, and the eye brightening. I can show you quickly on another one here. This is a newborn image. I will reset that one. Now for this one, I might use Marlowe is Beautiful on Indoor Newborns. I often use that. That's in my Kindred pack. I will brighten the exposure up a little bit. Once again, you can use the creative tools indoors as well, the tilt shift version. So if you wanted to use, for this one, I might actually use the circular tilt shift. And what you can do is you can come up and select it here, and it actually can be moved around. So if you want to move it around to match your subject a little bit more, so I might actually change it there so that drop away doesn't happen so close to the face. There we go. So I'm going to do that. And then I will come in here with some of my brushes. So I would use a skin brush on here. I might come in with the medium, open up a new brush, paint that on. Once again, I wouldn't go over the eyes or the eyelashes. So I would just use it in that way. Bubby has a little bit of a red line across their forehead here, so I would use my red skin brush across their forehead and just bring that red down a tad. There we go. And eye sharpening, I would use that. Jump in here quickly for the eyes. And I feel like this part of Bubby's face is a tiny bit cool, so I would also grab my brush, and this is the warm-up brush in the colour section, and I would warm Bubby's face up just a little bit there so that it matches the overall tone of the whole face. And there you have it. That's it there. And that is pretty much all I would do. I'm just thinking if I would might bump down the grain a tiny bit. And there we go. That is the before and that is the after. Now, I have one last one I will show you. I will reset this one. This one is shot in full sun. I think this is maybe 11 a.m. in the day, so I just wanted to show you this. For this one, I will use, I'll grab one from one of my other packs. I might use Fawn from my signature pack, which is a preset that I love. This works really well on outdoor full sun images. So that is with Fawn applied. I am going to put lens corrections on, and that looks really beautiful already. I might bump the exposure down a tad. I would use the Subject Enhance tool, and that gives the subject a little pop there. And then for the sky, I do think it's a little bit overexposed, so I actually would grab a linear gradient here and put that on and bring down the exposure just a little bit. And then what I might do to the sky is warm it up a little bit. So I have a brush that is a sunset brush, enhance the sunset. This is not a sunset, but it enhances the sun and adds some warmth to the sun and brings back some of the details. So I'm going to use that here. As you can see, that's pulling back in some of the blues and adding in some warmth to the sunset. So that looks really beautiful there. I might actually use it down the tree a little bit so the color works well. And you can always lessen it by choosing the brush and adjusting the sliders yourself if it's a little bit too intense, or you want to actually add to the intensity of it. So that is the brush there. And I think that looks really amazing. One of the other tools that I've got in here, which I use on a lot of images, is I feel like I can see some blue in her dress there from the sky. A color cast is something where the environment is like reflecting colors onto a subject's clothes. And this often happens when someone's wearing white. So in this image, you can see the blue. In a lot of images, you'll get like magenta or green color casts in the clothing. So I have got some brushes that I've created for that. So you'll see here in the color section, you can reduce the blues, greens and magenta cast that you might see in clothing. So here I'm going to reduce the blue and I will just brush that on, and that's going to take the blues out, and that's just giving it a little bit more warmth. And I might do that on his shirt as well. So there we go. That is the before, so you can see the blue color cast that was there before that we have taken out, and that is the after. So hopefully you have found that really helpful. If you have any questions, just let me know. But yeah, the tools can be used on a whole lot of different images and with all of the preset packs that I've created. And yeah, they're super handy. They speed up your workflow, and it means that you don't have to go in and manually choose the sliders and apply different settings to the brush to use every single time. So definitely recommend if you wish to speed up things and yeah, take less time on all of your photos. But hopefully that helped. Yeah, send me an email or a DM if you have any questions. I am always happy to help, or jump into the Facebook group because there's heaps of people in there that are always answering questions and really happy to share their knowledge. Thanks, guys.